In this episode, Ben Shapiro explores several pressing topics shaping the current political and social landscape. Central to the discussion is an in-depth analysis of shifting dynamics in hiring practices and institutional power structures, highlighting how white male millennials have increasingly been marginalized post-2014 due to diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) initiatives. Additional subjects include healthcare policy frustrations within Republican ranks, a revealing profile of White House Chief of Staff Susie Wilds, concerns about marijuana reclassification, ongoing violent incidents impacting various communities, and the Trump administration's new strategy to confront AI development as a national security priority. Ben Shapiro introduces a comprehensive piece by Jacob Savage from Compact Magazine that illustrates a significant transformation in American institutions around 2014, coinciding with the rise of DEI programs. The narrative begins with a political shift under President Obama's second term, marked by a move away from racial optimism toward racially divisive politics aimed at coalition building through identity. This transition catalyzed a steep decline in race relations, embedding identity-based hiring and promotion policies across elite sectors. Savage's data demonstrates stark declines in white male representation in industries like television writing, media editorial boards, academia, medicine, and technology. For instance, white men comprised nearly half of lower-level TV writers in 2011, but fell to under 12% by 2024. Similar trends were noted across Harvard's tenure-track humanities positions, The Atlantic's editorial staff, and Silicon Valley tech companies like Google and Amazon. Shapiro highlights how these changes were not organic evolutions, but deliberate efforts to elevate women and people of color by reducing opportunities traditionally held by white male millennials. The discussion addresses how these shifts deviate from meritocratic principles. Before 2014, hiring was generally performance-based, rewarding skill and talent. Post-2014 DEI policies, however, introduced what Savage calls a diversity complex, an accelerating demand for representation that eschewed meritocracy in favor of group identity. Hiring incentives, fellowships, and internal mandates explicitly favored candidates based on race and gender, often documented and implemented without consequence. The repercussions have been profound, not only in the workforce, but also politically and culturally. White male millennials, raised on ideals of judging character over race or gender, have found themselves viewed as complicit in systemic racial disadvantage regardless of their individual merits. This has bred a potent grievance identity among this group, which can fuel counter-identitarian movements. Shapiro argues the only sustainable path forward is a universal reinvigoration of colorblind meritocracy, which properly rewards talent regardless of immutable characteristics, while fostering societal efficiency and fairness. Shapiro shifts focus to a controversial Vanity Fair interview with Susie Wilds, President Trump's White House Chief of Staff. Wilds offered candid assessments of the Trump administration and its figures, labeling Trump's personality as alcoholic in the sense of his obsessive and hyperactive traits, a characterization Trump himself addressed and defended. Wilds also criticized Vice President J.D. Vance, calling him a conspiracy theorist, and slammed Attorney General Pam Bondi's handling of Epstein-related matters. The interview stirred speculation about internal dynamics within the current administration. Shapiro questions why Wilds would engage with Vanity Fair, known for sensationalist coverage, but suggests the administration may have calculated the risks, expecting such reports to be survivable or even strategically useful. Both Wilds and White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt branded the article as a biased hit piece, accusing the reporter of selective omissions. Despite the spicy revelations, Trump publicly stood by Wilds, underscoring loyalty and denying internal discord of consequence. The exchange reflects both the political theater within the administration and the complex interplay between media narratives and White House messaging strategy. The episode covers rising tensions over the fate of the Affordable Care Act, ACA subsidies, which, if allowed to expire at the end of 2025, would cause ACA premiums for subsidized enrollees to more than double in 20 tons. 6 health insurers are also proposing significant rate hikes independently, exacerbating affordability concerns. Republican Congressman Mike Lawler vocally criticized his party's leadership, accusing them of political malfeasance for failing to address the subsidy extensions. Lawler even floated support for a Democratic discharge petition to force a vote on the matter, highlighting intra-party disagreements and political vulnerability. House Republicans have proposed a plan aiming to reduce premiums by roughly 11% through expanded transparency, new health insurance pools, and cost-sharing adjustments. Shapiro notes, however, that this reduction is insufficient to offset the expected premium spike. Conservative voices, like Representative Chip Roy, argue the Republican plan does not go far enough, failing to confront the root causes of inflated healthcare costs tied to insurance industry entrenchment. Shapiro discusses the political calculus Republicans face: embrace a pragmatic, imperfect compromise to preserve control and initiate structural reforms, or risk electoral losses by standing firm against subsidy extensions tied to Obamacare's legacy. Meanwhile, Democrats appear poised to exploit this division, potentially leveraging a government shutdown in January to highlight Republican inaction. Despite some ongoing wage growth, the U.S. labor market shows signs of weakness, with recent months marked by net job losses and a rising unemployment rate of 4.6%. Shapiro explains how trade policies and immigration enforcement have dampened labor demand and supply, resulting in a subdued hiring environment. These economic realities contribute to the precarious political position of the Trump administration amid voter concerns over affordability and economic stability. The episode also touches on the president's upcoming decision regarding Federal Reserve Chair, weighing candidates Kevin Hassett and Christopher Waller. Hassett is favored largely for loyalty and messaging alignment, despite skepticism about his effectiveness at driving policy. Shapiro critiques the Trump administration's plan to reclassify marijuana from a Schedule I drug, no accepted medical use, high abuse potential, to Schedule III, moderate to low physical and psychological dependence. He expresses strong opposition, citing the evolving potency of cannabis products and potential for addiction, especially among youth. The reclassification appears motivated by calls for expanded research and liberalization, but Shapiro warns the consequences of increased cannabis access and normalization could be socially harmful. He predicts the move is likely inevitable before 2028, driven by political and market pressures despite public health concerns. The episode reports on several violent incidents affecting diverse communities. Nick Reiner faces charges of murdering his parents, Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer, highlighting issues around mental health and substance abuse in families. Ongoing investigations continue into a shooting at Brown University, with police releasing suspect videos but no confirmed identification. Concurrently, a Jewish MIT scientist was fatally shot in Massachusetts, prompting speculation on targeted anti-Semitic motives. Shapiro points to a disturbing spate of anti-Jewish attacks, including a stabbing in Brooklyn during the recent Hanukkah period. He also contrasts media coverage of terrorism-related violence. The Bondi Beach shooting in Sydney, linked to ISIS extremism, is downplayed by some outlets despite clear evidence, illustrating a troubling disparity in narrative framing that often shifts blame toward gun owners rather than addressing Islamist radicalism. In response to security concerns, the administration extended travel restrictions to countries with poor vetting systems or corruption, including Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, South Sudan, Syria, and Palestinian Authority passport holders. This aligns with President Trump's emphasis on controlling immigration to mitigate risks from extremist infiltration. Guest Kabid Phillips discusses the Trump administration's proactive campaign to elevate American AI development as a national security priority akin to the Cold War-era Manhattan Project. The strategy involves uniting 40,000 scientists across 17 national labs to create a centralized AI research platform fueled by government data access and focused on critical sectors such as advanced manufacturing, biotechnology, and nuclear fusion. While large tech firms support this coordinated effort as clarity in regulation and resource sharing, smaller AI startups worry about entrenching dominant players and limiting competition. The administration is also working to prevent a fragmented regulatory landscape by preempting state-level AI laws that could hamper innovation threatening to withhold federal funding from resistant states. This ambitious approach reflects concerns over maintaining U.S. technological leadership amid global AI races with China and Russia, and signals growing government-private sector collaboration on emergent technologies.